Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with defeatyourcravings.com. I'm here with a kind-hearted woman named Dani, who's agreed to let me record this session so you can share in her experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Dani?
Yep.
So, Dani, tell me a little bit about you and your struggles with eating and how you came to know Defeat Your Cravings.
Okay. Like probably many people who you coach and speak with, these food challenges started many years ago. Started when I was about 18. I kind of decided to start dieting, and that started 15 years of yo-yo, up and down. When I was 18, I wasn't very smart, so I was a little on the extreme side. And then after I got married and had kids, I gained weight, and so I started dieting. I didn't grow up with challenges around food, but it kind of started from dieting. But from there, it went to like the famine feast cycle all over the place. I would kind of try and go a little bit extreme, and then I would do the binging. And for many, many years, I actually invested in thousands and thousands of dollars of therapy. I took many different programs, read many different books, and I never felt like anyone had any idea what I was going through. No one got it. And a few years ago, I decided that's it. I'm not doing any more type of dieting or food rules or anything like that until I feel 100% confident that I am embarking on something that will stick with me for life, and there'll be no more ups and downs and yo-yos and just craziness all over the place. And so I took an intuitive eating course. Again, I was trying all sorts of different things, and still I just felt really all over the place. I typed into YouTube, stop binging, something like that. I don't know, and your content came up. When I kind of heard your method, it was the first time ever that I was like, okay, someone gets it. I don't need to be going to therapy for 3 years talking about my parents and my childhood and how I felt and all those things. It was just much more basic than that. And I felt for the first time ever, someone really gets what's happening. It's really like a brain thing. This is just another piece. I was always very confused. Sometimes I feel like, well, self-care means indulging. No, self-care means restricting because I should take care of my health. I was always very confused. And I think that once I kind of went with this method, I was like, oh, I'm confused because there's two very strong voices competing with each other all the time within me. There's myself, and then there's this, what you call the pig, which is the lower brain, food-obsessed, non-developed animal part. And once I realized that I can completely separate the two, all the confusion left me completely. And that was a year ago, and it's gone. There is no confusion. I say there's no confusion. However, what we'll be discussing is like sometimes things can get a little bit murky. But I think separating those two voices was really what did it for me. And that was a year ago. I have since lost 50 pounds. I was confident to start, I don't want to call it a diet, but I was confident on starting a plan that would meet my goals because I knew that this is for life. No more yo-yoing, no more all over the place, no more confusion. And it's been wonderful and life-changing. And I feel like I'm in a better place now than I've been since I was a small child when it comes to food.
What is it that's distinct and different from a diet in your mind? I'm so happy this is working for you, but
I would say there's a few things, but I would say kind of like the main difference, and this is something I actually heard you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard you once say, you can't diet away your food problems. Dieting is really somebody else telling you what you should and shouldn't eat, when, how. It's another voice, kind of. It's like you have the pig, you have your higher self, you have the diet voice. It has nothing to do with me. It doesn't know me. It's kind of like, it's just someone else telling me what I should or shouldn't eat. What your method has done for me is made me look inwards, not inwards in terms of my past childhood experiences and trauma, but to the voices inside of me, like, what are your triggers? What are the voices telling you? What does your higher self know that you should be eating, and what works for you and what's good for you, versus the pig squeals that are telling you all sorts of things, and identifying those specific triggers for me, how to combat them, how to refute those voices, and then to make a plan that's actually tailored to like my own triggers, my own needs, my own wants. I don't need somebody else telling me that X amount of carbs a day is going to solve all of my food issues. That's not really accurate. It's more like, oh, pizza is a trigger for me, so I make a rule around pizza that's going to work for me. It's personalized. It comes from within. And I felt very much with dieting before, I was very rebellious against the diet because I felt like somehow it was imposing on me and making me do things. And I was very rebellious always against it. This is like, oh, rebellious voices, that's the pig. It's a mind shift as opposed to just someone telling me what to do.
The respect for your autonomy meant everything to you.
Yes, absolutely.
You could recognize your own expertise and your own life circumstances and figure out where those deep neurological grooves have been dug in your own brain and come up with your own rules and connect with your higher self to figure out what you should do rather than let me tell you what to do.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, in terms of when I went with the intuitive eating, it was like the opposite. I felt like, okay, I kept looking through the book and saying, but where's the part about food being addictive? Where's that part? It was all about the autonomy. It was like, wait, food is pretty addictive, some of it. And I feel like that was kind of like the piece on the other end that you're very clear about. The food industry really works really hard at making food very addictive. You can't just deny that. I had to understand that and say like, oh, it really is addictive actually. And I have to take that seriously and make my own boundaries around it, my own rules around it.
I always say that mindful eating is a really good idea. And there's all types of research that suggests that we absorb more nutrition, we become sated more quickly. It is easier to stop when we're full, but you can't really mindfully eat a lot of these chemicals and food-like substances. We don't have the natural apparatus to control that. Like 100,000 years ago, I wouldn't have had a job, right? You know, food addiction is really, really an artifact of the food industry.
Yeah.
At least 80% of the variance, I think. There may be some social factors, but at least 80% of the variance is due to the influence of the food and advertising industry. Well, good, good. So it sounds like this is really working for you. How can I help?
So I started with an app that counts calories basically so that I can ensure that I'm in a calorie deficit. So along with the few rules that I have that. However, what I've been struggling with the last few months, I am an observant Jew. And so I keep Sabbath, which means once a week on Saturday, I actually do not use technology at all. So I do not have my calorie counting app available to me. So I find at the beginning when I was like super motivated and the weight was falling off, it was kind of like easy for me to just figure out how to continue to eat with my goals. But what's happened in the last few months, I kind of like hit a plateau and was still trying. And a few months into that, I find that on the Sabbath, it's opened up a whole opening for pig squeals. And I would say I actually kind of know what my rules should be. However, I'm having a very hard time committing to them. So I guess what I want help with is determining, do I have the right rules and how to kind of refute the various squeals that are like popping up for me.
Okay. So your rules are what?
My general rules are actually really only two rules, which is that I don't eat refined sugar unless it is undetectable in the food for me by taste. So it means like no sweet, artificially sugared foods, but like if something is in a tomato sauce in a dish and I can't discern it as a sweet food, I will eat that. I've had that rule now actually for 2 years.
No problem with any ambiguity in that, what's over the line.
Yes. I really only have one other rule, which is pizza was just very hard for me. So I made a rule that I will only ever have 2 slices at a time. And I've been doing that one for a year. And that also has been awesome for me.
Okay.
I think I have to come up with specific rules for when I don't have access to my app, which would be on my Sabbath. I kind of like have an idea of what I think those rules should be.
Tell me.
We have 3 festive meals, one Friday night and then 2 on Saturday. They're 3-course, large meals, a lot of food. It starts with a homemade bread, challah bread. My rules would be only 2 slices at a meal. I fill my plate up once with whatever food I decide, obviously, with my sugar rule in place and whatever. And if I want seconds, only of vegetables. So I feel that that's like a really smart rule. And I have attempted to implement it. And then I find myself just eating slice number 3 of bread, slice number 4. And I don't know why I'm not committing to it.
Okay, so it's not really a problem with the rule, it's a problem with compliance.
Does my rule sound logical to you? Is there something wrong with the rule? I'm not sure.
2 slices of challah bread is 2 slices of challah bread, and filling up your plate once is filling up your plate once. I can't argue with that. My question is, are you allowed to write on the Sabbath?
No.
Okay, so you'd have to count calories in your head if you were going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. No more than 2 slices of challah, and fill your plate up once unless you want more vegetables.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds logical to me. What could be wrong with that? How could you get in trouble doing that if you complied?
How could I get in trouble doing that if I complied? Well, I'll tell you kind of the voices that are stopping me. I guess I do have this voice. One is, it's a pretty stupid voice, I think. One is like, well, let's say you're allowed 1,600 calories a day. Maybe you really have more left. So there's wiggle room here because in general, you do calories. So maybe you haven't really filled up on that and you don't really know.
So the pig is saying the calorie counting rule still counts even though you can't count calories.
Yeah, I guess. It doesn't seem like it has such a good argument there, but
Okay.
that's one voice. Shall we deal with that first, or should I say the other voices that are coming to me as well?
Well, I just want to make sure we have the right rule, and then I want to look at your motivation before we look at the squeals.
Okay, perfect.
That sounds like a squeal. You should still be counting calories even though you can't.
Right. And if you can't, so you might as well just let it all go because you're not keeping to your rule anyways.
Okay. What else do you think is wrong with the rule? Or what else does your pig say is wrong with the rule?
The other thing I think that it's saying is, come on, like, can't you just let go for one day a week? You really have to now have rules about this. You're excellent during the week. You've totally tackled this. You can't just let go. Everyone is just filling their plates, enjoying, and here you are with loser rules.
What would happen to your health and fitness goals if you did let go one day a week?
When I just totally let go and just eat, as they say, slice 3, 4, sometimes 5, I feel pretty awful. Firstly, I feel physically not great. And I just feel like I didn't need that. That was really not helpful. I didn't need that. I don't want to go back to those patterns. I feel so excellent in my life. And when I eat, let's say, a second full plate of food, same thing. Either I'm too full, which I think is less of the issue because I don't walk away ever feeling like, whoa, I'm stuffed. I no longer find that feeling in any way appealing. So I don't get to that point. But there's the incredible feeling of feeling in control. And I feel like I'm just not. And then the other thing is like I still would really like to lose this last 15, 20 pounds. And I feel like it kind of ruins my calorie deficit for the week because it's like, here I am, and then I work all week, and then it's stagnating me.
There's nothing that you're describing that sounds like joy. It does not sound like you enjoy letting loose. It sounds like it's kind of a punishment to let loose.
It's kind of like I enjoy it in the moment. It is like a free feeling. I can almost be like, quote unquote, like just regular about food, like a regular person. I don't need to be so on guard all the time.
We've worked with a lot of people, over 2,000 people over the last 8 years. And what I've seen consistently is that when people want a safety valve, that's kind of what you're describing. Can't you have one day a week when you eat a little more? It works much better if it's done by design than to just hand the reins over to the pig. Like in the bodybuilding world, they have this concept of cheat days where you have whatever you want for 6 hours or something on Sundays or Saturdays. And I find that for the people that I work with my system with, that doesn't really work. You could decide you want to have 5,000 calories on Saturdays and define the specific parameters of that, but you're still in control, not the pig, and there's still a very specific boundary. I find the idea of just letting go and eating on impulse and whim, it doesn't work.
No. Right. I 100% agree with you. It's almost weird that the pig squeals are even getting to me. I'll just say, like, for example, today I was feeling very stressed out. I had a big exam this morning. I had a lot going on. I have 5 little cute kids, little kids and just whatever. And I just reflected to myself, in the past, I would have just gone to sugar and gone to the kitchen and just got something to eat. And now it's like that feels so unappealing to me. What's that going to do? That's not going to help me. It's so unappealing to me to go there. It's almost weird that it's getting me here when I know that handing over the reins, it causes nothing but harm in my life.
It's not a reward, it's a punishment.
Right.
Let's just kind of talk a little more about your motivation and then we'll address the specific squeals and context, okay?
Okay.
If you were to adopt these Sabbath rules, no more than 2 slices of challah, only one portion unless you want vegetables, on top of your other rules. And if you did that for a whole year perfectly, even though the pig says you can't, what would be different or better in a year because you adopted the Sabbath rules?
Okay. Very likely that I will have met my weight loss goals. But I really do think the weight loss is actually secondary, which would be awesome. It really would be awesome. I would be able to go buy the clothes that I want to buy, feel confident, feel fit. I think it would be really a great feeling. But I think in a year, if I consistently did this, it would no longer really be a struggle. How now I look at sugar, which is like it's been over 2 years since I've eaten a piece of cake or a cookie or a piece of chocolate. I haven't had one taste in 2+ years, and it's no longer an issue. And it's amazing because it felt like it had so much control over me, and now it's just a non-issue. So in a year, if I practice this every week, it could become a total non-issue, and I won't have to every week be like dealing with this. It could just be a way for me to enjoy the festive Sabbath meals that are definitely a part of my life and a part of my family and a part of my culture. And I can enjoy them without having it cause me feelings of failure, feelings of stress, confusion. Confusion is one of the big things for me all the years that like really just messed with me. And I think that I'm experiencing that now. So if in a year from now, this is just what I do, like I won't have confusion around it. I think I would feel confident also. This is what I do. This is who I am. It's not really such a thing anymore.
hmm You'd be free of the food obsession, you'd be free of the confusion. This is just who Dani is.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like every week I'm kind of like, should I eat that? Should I take a second? Should I not? Should I try that? And it's like, it would just kind of be like, this is how I eat. This is what works for me. This is how I stay healthy. Then I can just kind of like enjoy my life, enjoy my day.
What happens if you let the pig keep confusing things on the Sabbath? Say not in 1 year, but 5 years.
I probably wouldn't meet my weight loss goals. That's A. It may end up start confusing me in other areas also. This has been going on for probably 3 months, and I felt like, wow, I really need to tackle this because I don't want the pig to then feel like, oh, I've got an in here. Like I can really wiggle my way back into her life. So maybe if in 5 years the pig is constantly getting me every week, it could be that the pig will have more free reign. That's possible. And I'll still be dealing with it. Like I'll still be feeling like, why can't I just eat 2 pieces of challah? Like, why am I so compelled to eat 3, 4 when I don't need to? It will just still be a thing. I'll still be confused. I could really feel like a failure. If it's only on one day a week, will everything go out the window? No, I don't think so. I think I've made so much progress, and I don't think it'll ruin my life. But it'll just be another thing that I'm still dealing with, that I still have to deal
And
with.
you couldn't claim your power. You couldn't move on in life and
Yeah,
claim
I
your
couldn't
power.
just move on and say, like, this is how I eat on my Sabbath. This is how I eat, and I'm happy with it. Like, I think I'll still be unhappy with it.
Would you like to commit to these Sabbath rules?
I would really like to. I still have something inside of me that's terrified.
Is that you or the pig?
It's the pig.
So you would like to, but your pig is terrified.
Something just came to me right now. Like, this is my pig's last chance, kind of. This is the only area that I feel that I'm actually struggling in. So maybe the pig is terrified to commit because it's like, I still have you on this. If you commit, we're done. You know what I mean?
You're asserting your superiority, and it's going to be forever the inferior creature if you do this.
Yeah, it's going to be like locked up and it will have no say in my life. And so I think that that pig is really terrified because it still has an in. This is its in. This is its only in, actually.
Close your pig's ears for a second. Can you close your pig's ears for a second so I can just talk to you?
Okay. Yes.
You can decide to change this rule later on if you really want to. We're choosing the bullseye. We're choosing to figure out where the bullseye is. So I might ask you if you'd like to do an experiment for 90 days where you committed to these rules, if it helps you with the level of abject terror that's inside of you because of the pig. Or we can just understand this is the pig's terror and push forward for 100% commitment.
I think if I do the 90 days thing, I think that the pig will be like prancing around 89 more days, 88 more days.
Yeah.
Whereas if I say, nope, I'm committing for life. However, with the knowledge that obviously if I see in a year from now or at any time that this is not working for me, that it's not bringing me joy, then I can sit in a calm way, reevaluate, make any tweaks that need to be made, but it is out of the territory of the pig forever. I feel like that is probably the better way to go.
Okay. So would you like to commit to these rules, the Sabbath rules?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the two squirrels you told me so far, the pig says, well, you're still kind of living with the calorie counting rule, even though you can't count calories. And so you can have more. You don't have to stay with your 2-slice rule. The other one is, can't you just let it go one day per week? What are you hanging out with these loser rules for? What else does your pig say in order to prevent you from following your new Sabbath rules?
I think it's really those two. A sub squeal of the second would just be like, come on, like you can enjoy. Look at all this yummy stuff. You can really indulge a little bit. That type of a thing.
Okay. So let's work on these two. Calorie counting still counts even though you can't count calories and have these other Sabbath rules.
Right. Your body does the counting for you.
Your body does the counting for you, so you can get up and have more. What's wrong with that line of thinking?
I'm not counting calories today. I'm actually doing something else. Yes, calorie counting is not relevant today, which is why I have different rules. And it's two separate things. I calorie count from Sunday to Friday, and then I have these rules on Saturday. And it's two separate things, and they don't have what to do with each other. And the argument doesn't actually really even make any sense.
Which is what you do with the rest of your life, right? Sabbath has a different set of rules than the rest of the week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly, 100%. It's a different day. It has different rules, food-wise, otherwise, and this is what you've decided. So,
I don't count calories on the Sabbath. I don't use technology on the Sabbath.
right, but I do this. It's just separate.
Yep. And you have rituals that you only read on the Sabbath. You only do on the Sabbath. You have prayers you only say on the Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
Is that a level 5 refutation? Do you feel like there's anything left in that squeal that's bothering you?
I'm trying to picture in real time, like what would happen. Does it trigger me? I take my 2 slices, I enjoy them, I take my plate of food, and then I'm like, I'd really like a little bit more of that, let's say. And I'm like, well, I don't really know how many calories I've consumed anyways. I can kind of just wing it. And then I would have to say, wait, that's not relevant actually to me right now. I'm doing something else, and I've committed for life to having 2 slices of challah, 1 plate of food, and if I want seconds, I take vegetables. That's what I do. Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
And the pig says, can't you just let go one day a week and indulge a little bit? Come on, look at all this yummy stuff. Just let go and enjoy. Forget about your silly rules. What's wrong with that?
The first thing that came to me with that, you getting me to let go all those times, always backfired. I never felt good about myself, ever. Something that I say to myself during the week, this is a little bit crass, so I hope that it doesn't offend any listeners, but it works for me. I understand it's a little bit crass.
Bring it on.
When the pig will say to me, just indulge in this, just let go. And I say, letting go, is it worth me being fat? And then I say, no, it's really not. I've done that. I let go, and then I was fat, and I don't like being fat. It doesn't feel nice to me, and it's not worth it. That's a crass thing that I say, but for me personally, it's helpful. I'm just trying to think if I can transfer that to this. You're telling me just to let go. Then letting go means staying fat, having no energy, feeling like a failure. It's not worth it. The little enjoyment of letting go is definitely not worth the whole ripple effect of everything that causes for me in my life. Like I went down that path. It's not worth it for me.
It's not worth putting yourself in a food prison. Freedom is built on discipline.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. That's another thing that you've said, that I feel that way in all areas of my life. Freedom is discipline, literally in everything for me in my life. How does food fit into that? And it's just so true. Freedom is really not just feeling compelled to say yes to everything, but being able to say no when you don't want to do something. A free person can say, no, I'm not doing that. It's not good for me.
Seneca said that a man who's a slave to his body is surely not free, or a woman, we would say today.
Absolutely agreed. Yeah,
I think you're going to enjoy your Sabbath meals more.
I really do also. In general, I enjoy my food now, as opposed to food being like a monster in my life. I roast up my cauliflower and I look forward to it and I love it. And I sit and I eat and slowly and I enjoy my food. And I know it's nourishing me and I know that it's made from my head, the decisions, and then I can fully enjoy it. So why does the pig try and get me to think, with this, if you just kind of like, just let go, just enjoy, just be quote unquote normal, somehow I'll enjoy more when that hasn't been true ever. When you eat in a way that you feel has been thought out, has been chosen by your higher self, is in line with your values, is nourishing for your body, then you just have the freedom to just sit and enjoy without all the noise.
Beautiful. Danny, how confident are you that you're going to follow your Sabbath rules indefinitely?
I'll tell you, I wish I was 100. I'm in the 90s. I wish I was in the hundreds. It seems so crazy that I'm not at 100 because everything that I'm saying is true and everything the pig's saying is like ridiculously false. I don't know. I feel like I'm somehow losing the sense of, I don't even know. I say freedom, but it's just not true. Freedom, I used to sit and eat an entire pan of brownies. That wasn't freedom. That was awful. And now I look at a pan of brownies and it does nothing for me, literally. And that's freedom. I don't know why I still have this heaviness a little bit that is not making me feel like it is 100.
Is there some specific thing your pig is saying that's making you feel like it's not 100, or is it just existential angst? Like the angst of maturity and dealing with the fact there's going to be this animal inside of us.
Yeah, let's think. Is it saying something specific? Or is it just like this fear of like fully committing to something that has been hard for me, like really hard for me? I don't know. I guess it's just a general fear. It's like a general fear of it's hard. But is it even that hard? I'm giving myself a lot of, really hard would be, one bite of challah and vegetables. I'm giving myself a lot of room. It's not even that hard. I'm not even saying that I can't eat the foods that are on the table. I can eat the foods that are on the table, just one plate of them. Who wants a second plate anyways? I'll feel bloated. I don't know why I'm viewing it as hard even. It's not even super restrictive or super hard. I don't know.
Want me to help you with this?
I would love that.
We all have an animal inside of us. The reptilian brain kept us alive by acquiring calories as automatically and habitually as it could. 100,000 years ago, we needed tremendous motivation. We needed a tremendous automation of our calorie acquisition routines in order to live. There was a lot of competition for food. We had to be very alert to how to form new habits and patterns, and we had to feel extraordinarily motivated to go get it. It's very, very difficult to intellectually let go of that belief, even though every bone of our logical mind, every which way we examine it, 6 Ways to Sunday says, this is ridiculous. I don't need 5 slices of challah on a Sabbath to survive. The reptilian brain still thinks that you do. And so at some point you have to take a leap of faith and say, I can't get rid of the survival drive. I can't cut my reptilian brain out of my head because I need it. I need to redirect it towards other things, but I need it. And so I'm going to have these feelings sometimes. It's going to feel like I'm going to die if I don't have that 3rd slice of challah. It's really going to feel like that, but feelings aren't facts. And I'm making an intellectual choice about what's best for me. I'm making my food choices with my intellect rather than my emotions. It's okay that I feel like I'm going to die without the piece of challah. That's okay. I'm 100% confident that I'll never break my Sabbath rules again, but my pig has other ideas. That's the best you can do, because if you allow yourself to have this 5% uncertainty that you're going to be able to do it just because you have that feeling, then that feeling will wear you down. 5% uncertainty, the pig tries 20 times and it's in, right? We have to take that leap of faith and get to 100%, and we have to cultivate a sense of certainty and strength. Otherwise, the pig's got us against the wall. Does that make sense?
It all makes a ton of sense. There's one line that's super relevant, which is feelings aren't facts.
Right.
And if you feel that if you don't eat that third piece of challah, you're going to die, that's not a fact at all. And feelings of this feels scary and blah, 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 all that stuff, feelings aren't facts. And the fact on the ground is that this is actually good for me. It's really, really good for me.
They're not going to find your bones by the refrigerator in the morning if you don't have that third piece.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were speaking as well, there was kind of like one element that I think I didn't fully address, which I think is part of why I felt like I couldn't, like the fear, because I was still like kind of semi-calorie counting, kind of, but not really, whatever. I felt that I couldn't really fill my first plate with the different foods on the table because I had to like really be aware, is it this, is it that, how much? But I think that as part of this rule, which is that I look around, I do take a first plate of what I want on my plate, as long as it's not sweet with refined sugar and that it's not pizza, that I can actually, yes, choose to put anything on my first plate and not feel guilty about that. Because how it is now, if I take anything that looks a little bit calorie dense, I feel guilty about eating it. But calorie counting's not a part of my Sabbath rules. This is. And so I think for myself to really, yes, feel like this is an enjoyable, special type of a meal for me is I can take the food on my plate that I want. It's not breaking my rules to take something slightly more calorie dense because I'm not counting calories today. It's a different thing.
You don't count calories on the Sabbath.
I don't. I can't start combining all sorts of things all together, like this is what I'm doing and these are my rules. And as long as I'm sticking to them, there's no room for me to feel like I'm doing something wrong. So I think that is part of the fear, I guess, is I loaded it on top of all these different things in my head that I'm already kind of semi-doing. But no, I'm sticking to my general rules and I'm now have my special Sabbath rules. I don't need to start now kind of taking bits and pieces from here and there and making a whole mishkabobble of other things.
I like the word bishkabobble.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I think that sounds fantastic. And you know what? It might be a little bit hard at the beginning. It's true. That reptilian brain might start whining and feeling like it needs to just eat all the different things all the time. And myself, going back to what I think has been completely life-changing about your approach, is myself. Me is the one who is deciding what I want to do. And that's who I identify with. The reptilian brain and the pig, I identify that as that's not who I really am. Myself has decided these are the rules. And if there are whines, squeals, protests, I can recognize them for what they really are and say, you're not going to make me happy. You're not going to make me feel free. You're not going to make me feel like I'm living it up in any sort of way. You're just going to bring me down, and I'm sticking to what I know is best.
Dani, what questions or concerns do you have?
I think it's pretty clear. I still have little mini protests going on inside of me. But you know what? That's okay. Feelings aren't facts. Like, I'm doing this. And I think that the more I do it and the more I feel awesome about doing it, I'll go through my first Sabbath, which starts tomorrow night. I shouldn't even say if. When I go through my first Sabbath and I get to the other side, feeling successful, feeling in control, feeling light, feeling happy, that in and of itself can be a strong answer to like the little protests inside that are saying that you're going to lose out somehow.
Beautiful. I think you got it.
Thank you. I think it's great. For months, I've known inside of me what the rules should be all along. I just felt really scared to commit to them.
Yeah. I think the key insight for you is that feelings aren't facts and that you can't totally intellectually whip this thing out of existence, but you can intellectually separate from it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.